Hey, what's going on, Clipper people? It is me, William the Opinion Updike.
And I am Positive Chuck Mockler.
And we're your friendly neighborhood Clippers podcast. And today we're talking about a ugly but encouraging win for the Clippers.
Weird mix.
Over the Suns. This one, I mean, you said it, nearly spelled disaster multiple times. We're going to talk about that. Also, Thirsty Thursday. Every single Thursday we talk about who and what we're thirsty for, what we want to see more of. This one we're going to be talking about, playoff rotations, all sorts of great stuff. And then also just sort of checking in levels, playoffs, where are we at, all that and more coming up right about now.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, so the Clippers beat most of the Suns, 113-109 in this game.
9/10 of the Suns.
9/10 the Suns. The Suns didn't play Crowder, Ayton, Booker, or CP3. Norm Powell played, which thankfully is kind of like the biggest story from this game. The other story could have been the Clippers blowing a 39-point lead.
It's not the two Hartenstein threes?
No, we're going to talk about those. Luke Kennard did not play. He had a sore right hamstring. What's our level of concern for this?
So Ty Lue did actually give some clarification on this postgame. He said it should just be a one-game thing.
Cool.
So hopefully level of concern can stay pretty low there, which is something to like. What else we like from this game? I got to be honest, fourth quarter aside, kind of loved the overall vibe of this game, right?
It was weird at some points, but I agree with you. Do you want to talk about PG or do you want to talk about Norm first?
Well, I mean, like, both, because it's all the same thing, right? Like,
Sure.
this kind of felt like, I don't want to say practice run because that's disrespectful to the players that, like, the Suns players that were out there played very, very hard. But I mean, there was just like sort of a looseness or a freeness in the level of play that just kind of made me feel a little bit more relaxed about maybe some of the continuity concerns. And yes, I know it's a very small sample size.
Sure. But that's all we have at
just
this point.
the feel of the play. I thought like that was really encouraging. So let's talk about Paul George first. 28 minutes for Paul George without playing the fourth. And I mentioned that because
Big win there.
This is how you ramp up minutes, right?
Yeah.
Just great way to do it. Didn't end up having to play in that fourth, although thought he might maybe have to check in there for a moment. The efficiency wasn't necessarily great overall. 36% from the floor, 33% from deep. He was an all-impact player still in this game. He
Finding
finished,
guys well.
Yes, he finished with 19, 9, and 4. He was plus 31.
Love it.
Which is a far cry from any other Clippers box score in this game. I mean, I don't know. What more can we say about Paul George? He looks great. Defensively, he's great. When he's in rhythm, incredible. He really only had like one super questionable turnover in this game.
Right.
I think even in the moment, I was like, yeah, those are like the kind of mistakes that we need to, not even like that are going to happen, that need to happen now. Like, right? That's why these minutes need to happen. What else did you like from this game?
Norm Powell. We finally got to see Norm Powell and Paul George share the floor together, and it was every single thing we thought it would be, right? Paul George's gravity, opening things up for Norm Powell in terms of driving and from beyond the arc. Powell had 24 points. He shot 60% from the floor, 75% from three. I mean, he looked as yet again another great return game for a Clipper. Just about a week or so after Paul George's. Yeah, everything looked so good with Rocco, Paul George, and Norm out there. It just like, I don't know if anyone had any anxieties about the continuity, like tangible ones, but like you said, the level of play in this one and kind of the vibes for the most of this game should encourage us.
Definitely. And Norm started this one, red hot.
6 for 6, I think.
It was 6 for 6, and then he was an offer from the floor and from three in the entire second half. But he still went 7 of 8 from the line.
A lot of free throws for the Clips tonight.
Yeah. And we just saw his scoring at all levels, like working off ball, getting to the rim, everything defensively. I thought he looked really solid too. Better, honestly, than I had remembered. But rose-colored glasses. Rose-colored glasses. I'm happy to have him back. So, Ty Lue said an interesting thing post game. He said the only thing he wants to see Norm is how the rotations look with Kennard back.
Oh, okay, that's gonna be fun. I hope we can see that. Both these guys will play in the back-to-back over the weekend. That's a good time.
Does that mean, like Norm facilitating a little bit more? He did record 0 assists in this
I think
game.
Norm's probably playing the point in that.
Yeah.
And then he's driving, and then people are collapsing, and then Kennard has a great time out on the perimeter.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. And just, we talked about process, the ball movement. I thought
it was so crisp at sometimes. Paul George found Marcus Morris for a 3. Like, it went like Batum to PG, who had an open dunk, and then just found Morris very well for an open 3. There were times in the second quarter specifically, which we'll talk about after this, where it was just, the ball was just zipping around perfectly.
Yeah. There was one that I think it was PG to Norm to Reggie. Reggie ended up missing the shot, but it was still like just a beautiful open look. Some of the best looking ball movement that I think we've had all season. I think it just goes back to like what you were saying with Paul George, just the gravity that guys like Paul George and even Norm Powell like demand from a defense really opens things up in a way that I think is even going to be able to make up for some of maybe the continuity errors.
Well,
that you possibly worry about.
Like, we'll talk about this more in the second segment, but we're not running plays that we're practicing right now in games.
Yeah,
like Ty Lue talked about it. He said like they're working on different stuff behind closed doors. So what we saw against the Suns teams was
big brain stuff.
Sure, yeah, it's just guys getting comfortable. The second quarter defense in this game was elite. We held the Suns to 9 points. Yes, this is not even anywhere close to the full strength Suns, but 9 points is still kind of incredible. Suns had 6 turnovers. This is when the game was great for the Clippers. We talked about how good it was kind of offensively. It really helped. The defense in this second quarter really helped spark that. It was a plus 20-0 run. It was great. We thought the game was kind of put away.
Three of our centers had really good games in this one. I'm going to take Robert Covington. He had a huge momentum 3 in the fourth when things started getting like just way too close for comfort.
It was a 2-possession game at one point. We're up 39. It was a 2-possession game at one point.
Yeah. I don't know. He was great defensively.
He was the only good part of the
fourth. He took a hard foul, which we will talk about in the next segment. But he continues to be great. We alluded to it earlier, but like lineups with him and Paul George and Norm and pick
anybody. Batum, Morris, who cares?
Pick any other wing and any other guard you want. I don't care.
Rocco was 3 of 5 from the floor in the fourth and had 9 points. We needed every single one of them. Hart and Zoo, great games for our big guys for the most part. Zoo, 13 and 11, 2 blocks. Hartenstein, 10, 7, and 5 with 2 blocks. 2 of 4 from 3, and this is transitioning into the what we didn't like section. I love 2 of the 3s. The other 2 that he took, one of them he had about 9 seconds to decide if he wanted to shoot, which is a sign of how the process was going at some points in the second half. And the other one he had, 7 seconds, and like they just missed.
Well, and one of them was still with like 17 seconds on the shot clock. Like there was a significant amount of time on the shot clock.
But he can shoot them now. Ty Lue said pregame, if it's late in the clock and there was good process, he can shoot it. One of these 3s was not late in the clock, and the 2 of them had bad process.
Yeah, definitely.
What we didn't like, the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Suns put up 48 in the fourth quarter. Ish Wainwright had 20 in the fourth.
Shout out Ish.
I mean, just difficult to watch after so much good. I mean, it's tough.
We got killed on second chance points. We lost these 28-10. This is what happens when you take your foot off the gas. We kind of alluded to how we're not running, sets that we're practicing. When you're up by 39 and you're running kind of plays where you're like, we're trying to figure each other out. Let's see what we're comfortable with. They know the core of what they're going to run, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not, set plays and things like that. This is what happens. And you take Paul George out, you're ramping Norm back up, and you just really almost piss a game away in disturbing fashion.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I just thought there was some rough stuff for Amir Coffey and Xavier Moon in this one. Like, don't get me wrong, neither one of these guys played 10 minutes. Like, they didn't get a lot of minutes, but damn, I did not really see either one of these guys really like taking advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, it was a little off. No Brandon Boston Jr. either. He was off the injury report after being sick, so So, I mean, I guess it makes sense he didn't play.
Probably lost too much weight while he was sick.
That's actually a very real thing.
Don't make weight, you don't wrestle.
Oh, my God. And this game had a lot of unnecessary falls. And I mean that literally. Robert Covington fouled from behind on a breakaway dunk attempt, and everyone seemed kind of weirdly not furious about that kind of foul. But jumping at a guy from behind on a dunk on a breakaway is a very dangerous basketball play.
Robert Covington was so cool about it. He shook Torrey Craig's hand like he was like, it's like
he
whatever.
Hit the ground so hard.
I mean, yeah, I thought that one was going to be a flagrant. I don't know. That was a very hard foul.
Yes. Terrence Mann took a hard screen, which was like right before halftime, had to wait a few seconds kind of on the ground to get up. After taking that screen. He also slipped a few times, which was weird.
Yeah, that hard screen. Yeah, that was a weird end to that first half.
Yeah, it was not good. And then Hart had a weird foul from McGee, and he hit the deck. So, like, we mentioned off top how we avoided disaster. This game could have been a really embarrassing loss, and just based on what the hell happened, could have been kind of rough from a health perspective. So I'm happy we got the win in this one.
All of this stuff, I mean, obviously sucks, like super rough, but I mean, you do a little bit, I guess, have to appreciate like the physical intensity that this like
Suns team brought.
Yeah.
Missing and again,
their
hats
stars,
off to the Suns. We're not discrediting this at all.
Because that was like, yeah, man. Like, I mean, they were not.
They were here to win.
They still
were down 39.
Win.
They were trying to win.
And they still had a puncher's chance there.
This was a game. This was a very real game. But hey, continuity looked good. It is on to this weird back-to-back we're going to talk about coming up on Thirsty Thursday. But first, we got to give a shout-out to Bet Online. College basketball's biggest tournament over. Hope you put some money on the Jayhawks. I did. Won a couple of bucks there, which is a good time. And you know where I won them from? Bet Online.
Wow.
They have the latest odds, contests, and player props. BetOnline.net is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. And they remain the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news for all of the upcoming seasons. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Put a couple bucks down on the Dolphins win total. Maybe it might up a little bit. Also put some money down while you can on the Clippers winning the West. I don't know. Why not? Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn about the trends and action. Bet Online, where the game starts.
All right. So we're back with Thirsty Thursday. Every single week we talk about who and what we're thirsty for, what we want to see more of. And I mean, everybody out there, Clipper Nation and just extended NBA fans in general, playoff time.
Let's fast forward through this weekend. Let's just get through it. Jamal Christopher.
What if there's something you don't want to miss happening this weekend?
Fair. Jamal Christopher, Clippers Twitter power user, tweeted out that the Clippers roster that's taking the floor tonight, which was versus the Suns, is 100% better than the roster that closed out the Jazz and went 6 with the Suns in the playoffs last year. This is factoring no Kawhi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Agree, disagree?
I mean, I would have to agree.
I 100% agree.
And I think part of it too, though, is also just.
Are you putting vibes in there?
I mean, putting vibes in there, and also just we've tested the limits of what everyone else on this roster can do in that time. Like, sure, last season was definitely a stay ready season, and Paul George and Kawhi, whatever, missed some games. We had our own struggles that season, and we did come together as a team. But like this year, like there was no cavalry coming.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
I mean, like, that was what we, basically believed for the majority of the season. These were the guys. These were the guys that we were rolling with. And if we didn't even have, Paul George come back, which it seemed like a very real possibility for, until pretty recently.
Yeah.
This is what we were rolling with into the plan. And we still thought, I think we could give another team, even a top 2 seed, maybe give them 5-6 games. And I think you look at now, with Paul George and Norm Powell back, and we know what the rest of this roster can do and how huge Robert Covington has been for this team. Yeah. I mean, it's a little difficult for me to not say that this team is in a better spot last year. And even the guys who are the same, I think, are in a better spot this year than they were last year.
Yeah, and so just from a straight roster perspective, looking at it, just year to year playoffs to, tonight's game, key losses from 21 to 22, Serge and Pat Bev, which Pat Bev is a very big loss.
Oh, for sure.
We also lost Boogie, Rondo, Patterson, Achuru, and Yogi Ferrell. Not really factoring those as big losses. Don't think anyone will argue with me on that. And our additions are Norm Powell, Robert Covington, Hartenstein, and now playoff eligible Amir Coffey.
All right, well, 2 of these are big additions.
Yeah, I think Hart's a key addition. We need a backup center.
In playoff time?
Yeah, Hart will get playoff minutes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he's better than Patterson or Boogie.
Yeah, that's fair.
And just Amir can now play in the playoffs, so it helps with the bodies.
Definitely.
But yeah, I could not agree more with this take. I am so excited for playoff basketball. We alluded to it a bit in that first segment, but these last 2 games are essentially just for continuity. They're for guys getting used to playing together. They're not running in games what they're practicing. We have no idea what they're practicing there. One guy could be getting on another guy's shoulders and doing dunks or something like that.
They're gonna wear their jerseys as pants, man. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be nuts. They're gonna be wearing a big trench coat or something like that. But this play-in game, it cannot get here soon enough. We're gonna kind of talk about opponents and stuff after this segment. But yeah, man, I think part of me is let's talk this weekend back to back because you're thirsty for chaos, and it's going Kings who are sitting Sabonis and Fox.
Yeah.
And then we're playing the Thunder who are sitting Giddey, Dort, Shea's not playing. These feel like 2 games where the Clippers should just be allowed to practice really hard instead of playing these games.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look, I
don't mean that in disrespectful way. Sorry. I meant just from they're not affecting the standings. Flip a coin between which one you want to win. It's fine. I think the Suns game's got me a little shook.
hope your coin's double-sided, buddy.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. But what are you excited for in this craziness?
Well, honestly, just first off out of the way, I'm really excited to go to the game Saturday.
Oh yeah, first Saturday game in a while.
It's gonna be a vibe. There's no podcast to record for us afterwards, so if you see us at the game,
come say what's up.
Or after the game.
We're going to Hank's after the game.
Yeah,
if
or
anyone
after
wants
the
to come
game.
through.
Might be might have one beer.
I'm gonna have a couple beers.
But I'm also very excited for just whatever chaos is going to come on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
This is one of those games that we're not going to do a game preview for in any sort of real sense because I have no idea what's going to happen.
We don't know who's gonna be on the Thunder.
But it begs the question for me, should this be just a yearly tradition where the Clippers play the Thunder for the last game of the season? Now, last season, it wasn't on a back-to-back.
Sure.
But it was on the 4th game in 6 days and a single day after a back-to-back.
So it was a 3 and a 4.
Yeah.
Love it.
So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
I say
in terms of giant pains in the ass, it is similar.
fair play, NBA.
Not fair play at all. No one wants to see this
Last game of the season versus the Thunder.
The Thunder
Every year until they stop having our picks.
Oh, that'd be kind of fun, I guess. The Thunder started last game they played Xavier Simpson, Vit Krejci, Georgios Kalazakis. I hope I pronounce that close. Jalen Horde and Isaiah Roby. So I don't know what the Clippers are going to start for the last game of the year. We got to assume PG sitting one of these out, but this would be a nice game to see Amir playing good in.
Yeah, definitely.
This in the Kings game, and also, nice game for Marcus Morris to ramp up in. Whichever of the 2 that these guys play, we have to assume there's going to be some rest and stuff like that. But it's going to be wacky. If you're betting on any of these games, let us know.
Oh, I would love to know what the lines look like for that Sunday game.
It's after what happened versus this Suns team. I don't know what's going to happen in these games. And then finally, something I'm thirsty for: Morris off the bench when Kawhi returns.
Ooh, interesting.
Is this a crazy take? Reggie, PG, Kawhi, Nico, Zoo. Playing starting 5 if Kawhi comes back on 4-9. Even if Kawhi doesn't come back on 4-9, what do we think of this lineup if he were to come back in the playoffs?
I mean, I like it. Nico, demands the ball less on offense.
Sure.
Just the better defender.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I just kind of feel like once you add Kawhi back into this group, you're like pretty hard pressed to show me a lineup where I'm like, that's a bad lineup.
Xavier Moon, Reggie, PG, Kawhi, Zoo.
Great lineup.
I said show me a bad lineup.
What's the fault?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a fair take. The bench of Luke, Norm, Terrence Morris, Covington, and Hartenstein. That's a good time. That's going to give another team nightmares.
Yeah.
Coming up in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I talk about this all the time, like on this team with like the amount of wings that we have when fully healthy, and like just sort of the flexibility that we have to tailor things to, playoff matchups and opponent matchups. Like, I mean, as long as PG and Kawhi are there, and I mean, Zoo, I think is probably a standard for me now too. I kind of don't give a damn like who is in the starting lineup.
I'm wondering if 2 of the 3 of Covington, Morris, Batum need to be on the court at all times in the playoffs. I don't see how they won't be. 2 of the 3. 1 of the 3 definitely will be on the court at all times.
1 of the 3 for sure. If you can have 2 of the 3, I mean, some good wings.
Some good times.
It must be at Obi Bear. Some good wings over there.
Shout out Obi Bear. Coming up, that's what we're thirsty for. Let us know what you're thirsty for over at Locked On Clips.
Yeah. Also, I'm thirsty for Obi Bear. When are they rebuilding that place?
I don't know. We got to give that to GoFundMe or something. Coming up, we're going to be talking. I've changed my tune. 24 hours later about our preferred playoff opponent, and then talking the 4-9 theory. Coming up right after this.
All right, so it's Shavings. This is where we kind of wrap up everything else around the Clipper sphere, around, really whatever else. It's that drawer in the kitchen. It's the Shavings.
Got a bunch of rubber bands and, tacks.
So you have walked it back in a big way about your preferred play.
I've kick-flipped it. I haven't walked it back.
About your preferred playoff opponent. No, but if you kickflip it, you're landing on the same side. You've landed on the opposite side.
I'm dark sliding.
I was going to say, is this to dark slide?
Yeah, I've dark slid my opinion. So we are all very hyped on being in the play-in.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm now of the belief that we, no question, have to win the mini game and be the 7 seed to make noise in the playoffs. And by noise, I mean have a better shot at going to the second round versus the Grizzlies and the Suns, basically.
Yeah.
I have now switched to that camp. Ja's not at 100%. His knee's being reevaluated at some point, probably constantly. But yeah, I'm just changing my tune on this now because the Clippers are built to beat a lot of teams, right? The Clippers are built well, theoretically, to be able to slow down a team like the Grizzlies. We have a bunch of big wings who, again, theoretically should make it difficult for John Morant to get into the paint, work around the basket. That's not always how it works. But, yeah, I just think that's where I'm at.
I'm with you. I think... I mean, I still feel that we match up with the Suns,
sure,
especially when fully healthy.
That's also the issue for me too. Is that I think not fully healthy, we match up a little. I don't know. It's just a huge loss either way.
Yeah, it's really difficult either way. But I'm with you. I think that the Grizzlies, being the younger team, I don't think that they quite have the depth. Although they're really solid team, I don't think
their record without Ja is just I keep trying to not look at that stat.
Yeah,
because it's a very impressive stat for the Grizzlies.
Yeah. I still don't know that they have quite the depth that the Suns have. There's
there's an experience level to the Suns' depth that's kind of unmatched.
Yeah,
in this comparison.
Definitely. So that definitely seems really difficult. I mean, look, there's no two ways around it, man. Getting out of the play-in, having to, come from the 7 seed, any opponent you're going to play, it's going to be a really difficult playoff matchup.
And we got to give it our all in this play-in game. I don't want to play 2 play-in games.
No,
at all. We need to come out and I'm not looking forward as if we're already going to beat Minnesota.
Yeah,
I'm saying we have to.
I think you're right there because then that's just a losing battle. You got to get 2 games before you're even into the playoffs, and then I mean, like, who knows what your rest schedule is going to be like after that? Because playing is like the 12th through the 15th. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of games. And I think, I think that all signs point to, like, with Paul George and Norm coming back with the ramp up that they have, you know, excluding whatever could happen on
Sure.
4-9.
Yeah.
You know?
Which we are going to talk about.
I think that we're in a position to just, and, you know, we're running secret plays, and we're not, like, you know, beat writers aren't allowed to film players shooting and stuff. I think that we're putting ourselves into a position to squarely land our single best punch, and then, like, come what may.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of the 4-9 theory, the day of people listening to this podcast, it will be 2 days for the 4-9 theory to come to fruition. As of 11:01 p.m. on April 6th, what percentage of hope do you have that Kawhi Leonard returns for the Clippers at some point this season?
Oh, man. You go first. What do you have? What's your percentage of hope at right now?
We're not going on, and so this is just a straight percentage. This is not a graded scale or anything like that. I'm going
Graded scale? What do you mean?
like if you were going to say like 50%, like so an F. No.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
43.4%.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm like 30 to mid 30s,
Okay. Not as exact, but that's still fair.
which is higher than I have been
Absolutely,
all
same.
season and
Honestly,
coming
same.
into the season. So, that's saying a lot. I mean, it's still definitely, door is not shut yet.
Oh no, the door is open.
The door is open until, I don't know, Sunday?
I don't know, man. I think the door is open until we see that he's been fully shut down.
Until the Clippers are eliminated from the playoffs without Kawhi Leonard playing?
Honestly, yeah. I bet we don't get a Kawhi Leonard has been shut down for the rest of the season tweet. We will just have to either win the championship or lose a playoff series, and that's how we'll know that Kawhi's not going to play the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Which does kind of suck, but the hope is fun.
The hope is fun.
Hopefully. That about wraps it up. Friday's episode. Preview of the wacky regular season finale weekend for the Clippers.
Definitely.
Again, if you're going to the game on Saturday, we're going to be at Hank's after. It's going to be a good time. Love, Marry, Quarantine, of course. Man, that's great. It's going to be our last podcast of the regular season.
Wow.
Man, time flies.
When you're having fun.
Absolutely. And then, of course, whatever else happens between now and then in Clipperland. Will, if someone wanted to tell someone where they could listen to this podcast in a friendly way, where could they do that?
You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or on the podcast app on your mobile device. We're also on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. We're on Deezer. We're on Amazon Music. You can always tell your smart speaker to play Locked On Clippers. It works. It's great. I think we mentioned it up top, but we do come at you Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific. Hey, that 33%-ish hope is still alive. See what happens.
Some of us are in the 40s. I have been positive Chuck Mockler.
And I am William the Opinion Updike. And as always, we appreciate you.